Hello, Alan, and
Hello,
welcome.
Miss Letty.
We are reading the Jane Eyre book, and we're up to chapter 9. So welcome back to reading the book, right? So just bear with me for a minute, and we will go to the first page, and you will start to read the first page.
Right. So, start whenever.
Yes, you can start now.
Okay. And it's headed, of course, Mr. Rochester's wife. It was our wedding day. We were going to be married in a church near Thornfield Hall. After the marriage, we were going to travel to London. I got up early. I put on my wedding dress and I went downstairs. Mr. Rochester was waiting for me. At 8 o'clock, we walked together to the church. The clergyman was standing by the door of the church. There were two other people inside the church, two men. They were sitting in a dark corner. I could not see them very well.
So Jane is about to get married. So let's see what happens. The clergyman started to speak. At every marriage, the clergyman asked an important question. He asked the people in the church, "Is there a problem about this marriage?" The clergyman spoke loudly. He asked this question and he waited. There was a silence for a moment. And then one of the men in the dark corner stood up. He spoke loudly. "There is a problem. These two people must not be married," he said. "There's not a problem," Mr. Rochester said to the clergyman. "Please go on with the marriage." "No, I cannot go on with the marriage," the clergyman replied. He spoke to the man in the corner. "What is the problem, sir?" he asked. Right, so clergyman is like a priest, someone that works in the church, and he does the services there, and he is marrying these two people. This is a clergyman. Right, off you go, Alan.
My name is Briggs, sir. I am a lawyer, the man replied. I don't know many things about you. 15 years ago, you were married in the West Indies. Your wife's name is Bertha Mason. She is alive. She lives at Thornfield Hall. How do you know that? Mr. Rochester shouted. The other man in the dark corner stood up. He walked towards us. It was Richard Mason. Bertha Mason is my sister, he said. I saw her at the Thornfield Hall in April. Mr. Rochester's face was pale. For a minute, he was silent. Then he spoke quietly.
So we first met Mr. Mason when there was like a dance or a party, but they never said a lot about him in the story.
That's right. Yes.
And also he had an injury, if I remember correctly, because his sister, we will find out more about her. I'm not going to say anything else, but his sister isn't quite right. So now he has come to stop the marriage because he said that Mr. Rochester is married to his sister.
Yeah.
Mr. Rochester turned and looked at the man. "Who are you? What do you know about me?" he asked angrily. So what do you think you can see in this picture, Alan?
Well, he's saying that Mr. Edward Rochester has a wife. This is the man that is protesting against the marriage because obviously it would be known as bigamy if he was to marry a second lady when he's already married.
So what was that word again, Alan, please? What was the word?
Bigamy.
Bigamy. So when a person is already married and without getting a divorce, he goes to marry another person, it's called bigamy, no? Right.
Yes,
okay.
I think you can be prosecuted or whatever it is, but the law will come down on you very heavily if you do this. And it's not unknown, but very rare. And of course, you can see the concern on Mr. Rochester's face, and his wife, or let's say not his wife, it would be his fiance, I assume, at this stage. And of course, you can see the vicar there is also looking very concerned at this statement being made that he's already married.
Right. So we can presume that this man with the stick in his hand, because men in this time used to have a walking stick. It was like, I think, showing people the level they were in middle class. They used to walk around with a walking stick. And this, we presume, is the lawyer. And he is saying that this marriage cannot continue. Off you go, Alan.
It is true, he said. My wife is living at Thornfield Hall. She is mad. Come to the house, all of you. Come and see Mr. Rochester. Come and see the mad woman. We all left the church. Nobody spoke. At Thornfield, Mrs. Fairfax and Adele were waiting for us. They were smiling happily. Nobody will be happy today, Mr. Rochester said. We are not married. Briggs, Mr. Mason, the clergyman and I followed Mr. Rochester. We followed him up the stairs. He took us to the top corridor. He unlocked a door and we went into a small room. I had seen this room before. We walked through the room to another door. Mr. Rochester unlocked the door and we saw a larger room. Grace Poole was sitting in the room, but another...
I feel very sorry for Jane. This is her wedding day, and
quite innocent. Yes, quite innocent.
Yeah, innocent is a good word, yes. Innocent, naive. She doesn't realize what life is really all about, no? Yeah. So I feel very sorry for her. The woman was there too. She was tall and heavy. Her dark hair was in front of her face. The woman turned and looked at us. I knew that terrible mad face. I had seen it in my bedroom 2 nights before. The mad woman saw Mr. Rochester. She screamed and ran towards him. Be careful, sir, Grace Poole said. The mad woman was very strong. She screamed and she hit Mr. Rochester, but Mr. Rochester held her arms. I think I've seen it in films that when people are mad or they are possessed, they become stronger.
Oh, yes, absolutely, yes. Super strong, yes. I think the adrenaline starts to flow and they become almost like super strong. But we can see that in the picture there, that he's trying to restrain this woman, and you can see she's screaming and shouting, and all the others are doing, looking on in surprise or amazement at what's going on.
But yes, they can't believe it, can they?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Now, I don't need to say you can appreciate it, but around the room, there are like mattresses. So she doesn't hurt herself, because she must have like, I don't know what you'd call it, like attacks where she is possessed and she might try to hurt herself. So we can presume the mattresses are there to help her from not hurting herself against the wall, no?
And there's iron bars at the windows to stop her escaping, I noticed.
Oh, right. And there was a woman who looked after her, Grace.
Yeah.
This woman is my wife, Mr. Rochester said angrily. I wanted to forget about her. I wanted to marry this young girl, Jane Eyre. Was I wrong? He was silent for a few moments. Then he spoke quietly. Yes, I was wrong, he said. I love Jane Eyre, but I was wrong. Now go, all of you. I must take care of my mad wife. I went slowly downstairs. Mr. Biggs, the lawyer, spoke to me. I'm sorry for you, Miss Eyre, he said. You did nothing wrong. Your uncle John Eyre is sorry for you too. He read your letter, then he met Richard Mason in Madeira. Your uncle is dying, Miss Eyre. He could not come to England. He sent me here. He wanted me to stop this marriage. So in the chapter before, when Jane was so happy when Mr. Rochester proposed to her, Jane wrote to her uncle telling of her happiness.
Yes, of course.
And so when he realized all the things that were happening, the uncle tried to stop it by sending a lawyer.
Yeah.
And in this picture, Alan, what do we suppose is happening here?
Well, you can see that Mr. Rochester is feeling a lot of remorse, very sad at what he's done, obviously feeling very guilty. And poor Jane Eyre is standing there in absolutely, well, cannot believe what's happened and looking very sad. So, yes, what an awkward situation.
Right, so this man is Mr. Biggs, the lawyer.
Oh, this is Mr. Biggs, beg your pardon, yes.
No problem. And Jane looks, do you know the word by any chance, when you cannot be consoled? When you cannot be comforted in a bad mood? I can't think of the name. I will have to think. So she looks like she cannot be consoled. She can only look disappointed, upset, all the negative things you would feel in this situation. Yes. Right then, Alan.
I did not answer. I went to my room and I locked the door. I took off my wedding dress. I put on a plain black dress. I lay down on the bed. I am Jane Eyre today, I thought. I will be Jane Eyre tomorrow. I will never be Jane Rochester. I must leave Thornfield Hall. I must never see Mr. Rochester again. My life is finished. Many hours later, I got off the bed. I unlocked my door. Mr. Rochester was waiting outside my room.
So we don't know what is going to happen to Jane. So let's continue a little bit more. You are unhappy, Jane. Continue, Alan.
Oh, you are unhappy, Jane, he said. I am very, very sorry, Jane. We will leave Thornfield. We will go to another country. We will be happy again. I cannot be your wife. I cannot live with you, I said. I must leave you, Edward.
So this decision must have been very hard for her.
Yeah.
But it's the only one she can take, especially at this moment in time, because life then was very disciplined. No, there was a social way to behave. So what can we see here?
Well, you can see that Mr. Rochester is doing his best to explain to Jane, making the proposition that they could escape, go to another country, but you can see the look on her face. Her eyes, her eyelids are down, looking at the floor, and she's really not believing this. Really, she's having to try and take it in, but I think she thinks this is not the right way to go about this, and I think she's going to refuse to comply with his wishes.
So he's trying to console her.
Yeah.
To give her another solution to this problem. But of course, her upbringing in the orphanage, the way society acts at this time, she just can't do it.
No.
Right, off I go. Listen, Jane, Mr. Rochester said. My father wanted me to marry Bertha Mason. Her family was very rich. I married her. My father was happy, but I was not happy. Bertha was mad, and she was a bad woman. Nobody told me about her. She was married to me, but she met other men. She was drunk every day. She tried to kill me many times. After 4 years, I brought Bertha here to Thornfield Hall, Mr. Rochester said. Then I went away. Grace Poole took care of Bertha. I met other women. One of them was a French singer. She was Adele's mother. Adele is my daughter, Jane, but I did not love the French singer. I did not love anybody. I came home to Thornfield Hall. Then you came here, and I loved you. I will always love you. Please stay with me, Jane. Wow.
Yeah.
What a life, no?
Yes, absolutely, yes. God, the plot is unfolding now. He's having to come clean now, what he's been up to.
Yes. But can you imagine that Charlotte Bronte, who wrote this story so many years ago, her imagination, and the real version of the book has more description, more parts of the story, so it's more romantic or more interesting.
Yeah.
Right, let's continue, Alan.
No, Edward, I said, I am going away. We will be unhappy, but we must not be together. Goodbye, Edward. Oh, Jane, Jane, my love, Mr. Rochester said, don't leave me. I kissed Mr. Rochester. God will help you, Edward, I said. Quickly, I went into my room. I put some clothes into a bag. Later, I heard Mr. Rochester go into his room. Very quietly, I went downstairs. I opened the small door at the side of the house. I left Thornfield Hall and I walked the road. It was dark. Soon a coach came along the road. I gave all my money to the driver of the coach. I got into the coach.
Wow, I wonder where she is going.
Well, I don't think she just wants to get away from it all, escape this trauma.
Yeah, but she doesn't have family. She doesn't have anybody.
No, doesn't know where she's going anyway. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Many hours later, the coach stopped. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. You must give me more money now, the driver said. I have no more money, I said. You have no more money? Then you must get out of the coach, the driver said. I got down onto the road. The coach moved away quickly, but I had left my bag in the coach. Oh dear, it's just one thing after the other.
Getting worse.
So we can imagine she's in the middle of nowhere. We don't know where she is, no?
No, that's right.
I looked around me. I was in a cold, empty moor. Now, a moor, to explain very simply, is a land in the middle of nowhere.
That's
it's
right.
Wet, it's damp, it's very difficult and dangerous to step on it, right? So our viewers can look that up in the dictionary more. It's a very unpleasant place to be. I was tired and hungry. I walked and I walked. I had no money. I had no food. I walked until the evening came. At last, I lay down on the ground. I fell asleep immediately. So can we imagine she's in the middle of nowhere, cold, hungry. She has nothing. She's forgot her bag on the coach. It's just a disaster. No? So, Alan, what can we see here?
Well, there we are. She's obviously, he made her get off the coach. She's simply standing there wondering, what on earth am I going to do now? And she sees the coach and horses disappearing into the distance, and she's left there all alone. Like you say, no money, no food, nothing. Absolutely destitute.
I don't think it can get any worse.
No, worst nightmare.
So we are going to leave it there for today, Alan. So it's in a very sad moment of the book. Yes. Because all these things have happened to this poor young woman. Yeah. And she doesn't deserve this, no, because she's so kind to everybody.
Well, I'm
but
hoping her luck will change.
we will have to see in the next chapters that we do. So
Yes.
thank you, Alan, for joining
You're
me.
very welcome.
And thank you for reading so nicely.
That's
See
right.
you.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye now.